Welcome to Kathryn Raaker's World. Innovation, culture, adventure, fashion and health, artists, destinations, traditions. This is Kathryn Raaker's World.
Hi, this is Kathryn Raaker of Kathryn Raaker's World, our new program that features everything from pets to fashion to beauty, all different things that we're going to be covering in our new show. I want to welcome to our show a good friend of mine who I used to work for in the pet business, and she actually was the co-founder of the Humane Association of Warren County. And I want to welcome to our show Mary Lee Schwarzwalder. Hi, Mary Lee. How are you?
Hi, Kathryn. I'm doing great.
You know, the one thing that I've learned about you are so tenacious, and you really, really care about animal care and pets in general. And did you have a lot of pets when you were a child?
Off and on.
Off and on?
If I'd find a stray bird or a squirrel or a rabbit or
Right. How did your
whatever.
parents feel about that?
Well, they let me keep them.
They did? And when did you really have the urge to work at the Humane Association or create it? Tell me how that happened.
Well, my husband and I bought a farm here in Lebanon
Okay.
from Cincinnati, and I had been doing some work with some of the animal groups in Cincinnati, doing
Right.
promotional things for them because my sister and I played piano and sang.
You were a singer.
Yeah.
Right. And your husband was a race car driver, right? When you met him?
No, not when I met him.
What did he do when you met him?
He was the car manager of a Volkswagen. He was into the cars.
He was in the car business.
Uh-huh.
He's always been into cars, right?
Yeah, always.
Always. Well, let me ask you a question. So when did you decide to actually start the Humane Association?
When I came to Lebanon, we bought the farm, and every day we'd go out to go to work. There would be 2 or 3 kittens running around and a couple of dogs. People think that they can dump stuff off in the country.
Mm-hmm. And you lived in the country, so if people don't know where Lebanon is, right?
It was considered the country.
Mm-hmm. It
But
still
it
is,
isn't-
I think.
It's getting, well, I don't, because I think I live there now. I live there.
Well, you know,
And
I lived on a 500-acre farm, and it started growing
Yeah.
with lots of people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mary Lee. Tell me about it.
Well, I tried to keep everything that they left, and I ended up with 15 dogs and 20 cats, and my husband finally said, "Stop, we can't afford this anymore," because I'd have them all spayed and neutered and then to feed them and the vet bills.
Right.
And he said, "Go into town and find if there's a shelter." So I did, and I went into town, and there was one that the county owned and operated.
Mm-hmm.
And I was appalled at the conditions. It was horrible. They had like 8 runs, and they had 20 dogs in a run, in all different sizes: puppies, big dogs, little dogs.
Right.
And at feeding time, the little ones didn't make it a lot. We went to the vet a lot.
Right.
And so I got home, and I was so upset. First I went to talk to the commissioners about it, and they just kind of blew me off I was 24, like a young kid that didn't know what she was talking about. So I went home, and that night Alan came home from work, and he said, "Well, did you find it?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "So what? Tell me." I said, well, I'm running for county commissioner tomorrow.
And he did, or you did?
I did.
Did you win?
No, but
You
I was-
changed things.
Yeah, I sure did. I was the first woman to run for county commissioner, and ever. I didn't win, but the person that won beat me by 200 votes, which wasn't bad because he was well established.
Wow.
And he had a huge family, so they kind of controlled the county. You know, his relatives were with the sheriff's department and every department in the government. And so I ran for county commissioner, and I almost made it. Didn't quite make it. But the next year I ran again. Next term I ran again. And again I didn't make it, but that was by 200 votes. The first time it was 300 votes. So
you were getting better every time,
Yeah.
right?
and it's kind of it's a country situation, like you
Right.
said.
Right.
And for a woman to be a county commissioner was,
Back then, right?
back then was just unheard of. So
They were having to deal with you, right?
they were having to deal with me, and my husband will tell you don't want to deal with Mary Lee. The one commissioner told someone else that I was tenacious, and I
Right.
thought that was a compliment.
I think it's a compliment.
So I didn't get the commissioner job that time. That's a tough nut to crack, and it's a tough job, really.
Right.
So I went to. I didn't get it that time, so I decided I can't keep letting it being run like that. So I went to the newspaper, which everybody does, and showed some of the bad atrocities that were going on there. And the newspaper, it was just a little local paper then.
Right.
It's not in business now.
Right.
And they put me on the front page.
Really?
And so we myself and about 4 other women got together, and we decided, someone donated a little house to us
Mm-hmm.
that we could use for our
Shelter.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And we opened a little cat shelter on Main Street, right where Arby's is on Main Street in Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
And Alan came home from work one day, or he went to work, and the guys were there, his salespeople were laughing at something, looking at something in the newspaper, and he said, "What's going on?" And they said, "Oh, it says Schwarzwalder opens cat house in Lebanon." And Alan didn't know
What that meant.
anything about it.
Right. Shock.
Well,
So-
when
yeah.
I was trying to build funds for the shelter, I was giving a talk
Mm-hmm.
to some people for a fundraiser,
Right.
and Marge Schott came in towards the end,
Right.
and it was a video show, and I had the video thing, and all of a sudden something came in front of the video screen.
And it was Marge Schott?
Blocked it, and with all this smoke coming out. And it was Marge Schott, and she heard me say that about Schwarzwalder's opens cat house, and she comes up and she said, "Honey, you got to do it any way you can." And so everybody loved that.
Right.
But we raised $2.3 million, and I went to the commissioners and talked them into donating the ground to us on a 99-year lease, and for $1
For $1. Wow.
a year, and they did it. Of course, I paid the $1 right away.
You didn't want to owe him anything, right?
No.
So how long was that shelter before you built the new one?
The little cat house.
Now, you had the cat house, and then you expanded.
8
right?
years.
8 years. And then you expanded into the place where I worked at for a while?
Yes, it took us 2 years to build it.
2 years to build it. And how big was it, Mary Lee?
It was 9,000 square feet,
Right.
and when we built it, there was nothing there. It was just blank ground.
Okay.
Well, the commissioner said, go to the engineer's office and look through their all the ground we own and choose something, and we'll see if we can give it to you. And so I did. And I chose that spot where the shelter is now.
Right.
But it happens to be the hottest spot in the county. I didn't know that. It's right on 48.
I mean, it's right on 48, and back then, was it real busy then?
No.
No.
There wasn't even, it was a 2-lane highway.
Right, so it's totally
Now
changed
it's
now.
4
It's 4
lanes.
lanes, right?
Yes.
And so when did you, now you were a volunteer all this time, correct?
For about 25 years in the beginning.
25 years being a volunteer.
Yeah.
Then when did you become director?
In 1987.
87, they appointed you to be director. And you're retiring this year, aren't you?
Yes.
Right. How long has that been now?
It'll be
87.
45 years.
45 years you've been
Yeah,
involved.
this is our 45th anniversary
Anniversary.
also this year.
That's right. And I'll never forget meeting you. I met you, I was working with a car dealer at the time, and he wanted me at the time to reach out to the community and do nonprofit work. And so I did actually a chamber event, and I couldn't believe how far I used to have to drive, to get there, 3 times a
know.
week. It's crazy. And but gas wasn't that expensive yet, right?
Yeah.
So I'll never forget you coming up to me and saying, "I want you." I went, oh my goodness.
You need me, maybe
You
is
need
what
me.
I said.
Right. Well, I don't know if I had told you then, I had been involved in humane associations, and my partner in New Jersey had no-kill shelters.
Yeah.
And she used to pick up stray animals along the way to the radio show.
Yeah.
And I was always scared of getting, what's it called?
Overloaded?
No, not overloaded, no, Lyme disease.
Oh.
I was always afraid that...
You personally?
Yeah, me personally. She had it
Yeah.
3 times.
Oh, my.
So, and she was
she's
a singer.
still- she's
This
still
girl was
alive?
a singer. Yeah, she's still alive. She's still saving animals, too.
Wow.
But you were so much different than she was in a lot of ways. And I just loved your attitude, and I loved the idea of what you were doing with pets. And, I had 2 cats we traveled with for all those years.
Oh, my gosh.
And so it was very special for me to be part of that, really. Now you're a pet expert, and you have been for a long time on my radio shows, right?
Well, yes, but what's an expert?
An expert is somebody that's been in the field for a long time, that really cares about what they're doing, and really does stuff about it. And I think with those years of experience, you qualify as an expert pet person, don't you?
Yeah, I think so, because I've been through just about everything you could be through.
Right, true.
And it either worked or it didn't work. So
Right. That's
why not
important.
use the things that worked
That's
instead of reinventing the wheel?
Well, I'll never forget the pet responsibility program that you came up for children. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And we expanded it. Instead of being a 1-day deal, we made it a 6-week deal.
Yes, you even came in and did classes.
We did classes
At the
with
school.
it. And, I think children need to learn from a very early age. Wouldn't you agree?
Need to. And they learn from an early age.
Right.
But it has to be up to the parents.
Right.
A lot of things these days has to be up to the parents.
Right. And, I think that that's the cool thing. I mean, when you go to adopt an animal today, it's not like you go into the shelter and just say, I want the animal, and that's it, let's go. What happens? Tell the audience what happens when people want to adopt.
Well, sometimes it's people that are either too young or too old.
Right.
And, you can be too old to adopt. And it's tough to tell people you're too old to adopt this animal.
What's too
Because-
old? What's too old, Mary Lee?
I'd say after 60, 65.
Really?
It depends. If you have a fenced yard,
Right.
you're fine. But because you can let the dog out, you don't have to take it out and walk it 4 times a day.
Uh-huh.
But if you're my age and your age, you don't.
Excuse me. But it's companionship for a lot of these people. I know Joyce, who's, by the way, going to be 88 this year. Her dog passed away 2 years ago. And until she married her third husband, that pet was a major part of her life. So, 65 today, unless people are really sick,
Yeah, that's not old.
that's really not old. That's now 50.
But you think you're invincible
That's true.
at 65, and you could be. It depends on your attitude.
Right. I got to tell you something really funny. My granddaughter got a cat, finally. Cassie got a cat. She put, she got her collar, and she walked the cat. And I'd never seen a cat walk down the street with a leash on.
Yeah.
And she's the most loving pet responsibility person I've ever met. She changes the litter. She feeds them. This is part of her everyday deal. And at Christmas time, I have to share this with you because it's so cute. Somebody gave her a butterfly farm,
Butterfly farm. I've
which
never
is
heard
little
of that.
caterpillars that eventually become butterflies.
Oh, I bet that's wonderful.
And it's really funny to watch it because, even those type of insects, right, are not insects, they're butterflies, right? She got to see the birth of the butterfly, and she's really into animals. She's into things. So let's talk a little bit about taking care of and feeding your animal, Mary Lee.
That's the other thing, yes.
Right. It's important. So let's talk about, I came across this. This is really cool. I love this because, so many people take their dogs or whatever with them, but they don't think maybe about them drinking like we do
Or getting thirsty.
or getting thirsty. So these came in from Canada, and I wanted you to see them. What do you think?
I think they're fabulous.
Idea?
Brilliant idea.
Right.
Yes.
So you have to squeeze it, right? You put the water in and you have to squeeze it, and the water comes up here, right? And then they drink it from, it's called a lap it up, okay? And then I wanted to show you this. This is the piece that they sent us, right?
Cute.
Isn't that cute? And they do it in they do like, what do you call it? Everything that you can think of, or every color that you can think of. And now they're working with humane associations, right, all over the country, right? And the Humane Association makes a lot of money out of it. So that's one thing. But you use certain kind of dog food, don't you, at the pet shelters? What would you do about that?
We do. It's called Diamond
Diamond?
dog food and cat food.
Now, here's the dog food, right, Mary Lee?
Yeah. And we researched it. It's not an easy thing to find something because there's so many out on the market.
Really?
Daily they add them. And some of them are available in stores, big box stores like Kroger's and Sam's and Costco and
And all the pet places
and
in the world?
PetSmart and
All that
places like
jazz.
that. Yes. But we decided we didn't want those dog foods.
You wanted something that was natural, healthy?
Yeah, well, yes, but they all say that they're natural and healthy.
Right.
But this really is. We've tried it. We've tried it for at least 20 years.
That's been around that long?
I think so. Yeah.
Right. And I want to feature, I want the photographer to go down there and look at the other piece, which is for cats, right?
Yeah.
And, I think I told you before that that cats are finicky too, aren't they?
Very.
And my cats, I'm going to put this down now, Mary Lee. My cats, which we brought in from England, we brought a little bit of their food with us, not knowing that we wouldn't be able to get it in the U.S. I almost had to make it myself in the end because they were so finicky. They didn't want to eat anything, and I was frightened that they were going to starve to death. You know, so that's one of the things that you have to consider, right? Is there food? What about overfeeding animals?
Wow, that's just like overfeeding people.
Right.
Your animals can get fat, and then they get the diseases that humans get. Diabetes,
Heart disease.
They can get heart disease. They can get everything that humans get, just about. And overeating is one of them. And you know, when your pet is sitting there next to you while you're eating your big steak dinner, and with those little, sad little eyes looking at you, give me a bite.
Right.
You can't help it sometimes.
Right.
But you've got to. It's these foods, all the dog foods have, and cat foods have, the nutrients that pets need.
Right. So if you were giving people points when they're taking care of their pets, what would be the 5 points that you would give them to be able to take care of their animals?
Boy, you really put me on the spot.
That's all right.
Do you have to have 5?
No, you can give us as many as you want. You can do 3. I don't care.
Be sure that you're capable of handling the dog inside and outside. Because even if the dog's on a leash and you're walking it, it can pull you and pull you down, and you can fall.
So if you're a little bit older and you're taking your dog out, all kinds of things can happen if you're not careful.
Right.
Especially, doesn't matter how big they are or how small they are.
That's right. And
Right.
then even if they're little or big, that's right, inside they can get between your feet and knock you down.
That's true. That's true. And if you want to adopt, there's some things that you need to know before you adopt, right?
Know how you're going to take care of it yourself,
Right.
and don't depend on children or neighbors or husband or wife to do it, because they may not be able to, and so the dog doesn't ever get to go out.
Right.
If you're going to adopt, you need to come in and choose the pet yourself, and so that we can see if we think that's a good match.
Right.
Because adults think, and it's probably right, that they know everything because they've been through life, and they don't like to be told anything by their children or anyone that you can do this or you can't do that or that's not right. So,
Do you look at the personality of the person and the pet when
Yes.
you're, when you're in the adoption process?
Oh yeah, we even ask for people to bring in their whole family, anyone that is going to be around that pet, grandma, grandpa, anyone.
On our next show that we're going to do, we're going to talk about safety with pets in automobiles, how they should be restrained, how often you have to go to your vet, what's important, right? I want to thank you for joining us today on Kathryn Raaker's World, Mary Lee, and we look forward to having you on our next show. And thank you so very much for your service.
What a pleasure. Well, I couldn't do it if I didn't have people like you that help.
Right, and
So thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you want to know any more about pets, they can go where? To any of the humane associations, or they can go out to where?
To the Humane Association of Warren County
Right.
at 230 Cook Road, Lebanon, Ohio,
Okay.
513-6 695-1176.
Right.
And you can call, even find tips on training your dog, because we have a professional trainer that comes to the shelter every
Right.
day.
Right.
And you get a special discount if you adopt from us.
Mm-hmm. And that's
But-
good. That's good. And since we're seen all over the world and all over the United States, you can look at your humane association in your city or town and look at the ones that have the best care for the pet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be back very soon on Kathryn Raaker's World.